Excellent. It does. Fantastic. Cool. All right, so let's head on over to Rotten Tomatoes and check this stuff out, right? Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. 24% Rotten, 60% audience score. Right, okay, so my thoughts. Well, did I like the movie? Yes. My wife and I watched this the premiere night, like the night it came out. I was very excited. I said, look, we're turning off our mobiles. We're getting our dinner ready. Turning off the lights. I've been looking forward to this. The trailer looked awesome. I really thoroughly enjoyed the trailer and what I saw of the movie leading up to it, all the concept art and just the building off the hype of Zack Snyder's history. I've been a fan of every one of his films. I love Zack Snyder's work. He's a director that doesn't come around very often. Yes, he's very visual, but his choice of shots and his choice of how he composes his shots and even his choice of slow-mo. Like, a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people they kind of scoff at the slow-mo stuff, but I like it, man. I like the slow-mo that he chooses. Like, when it's not overdone, slow-mo can be great when it's not overdone. And the way Zack Snyder chooses to do it, it's always in a moment that you just want to bathe yourself a little bit more in, or just be like, oh, that's a cool moment, or just stuff that you get missed if it's just a general normal cinematic shot in any other movie, right? Like, even just down to the point where people are shooting at someone, like it's a close-up shot of this chick and she's shooting someone and it's in slow-mo and you get to see the exhaust coming out of the pistol and then the slug coming out and she's screaming and shit. It's epic stuff. Like, it's just living in that moment a little bit more. I really like that. It can be overdone, and a lot of other directors over time have done that. And it just doesn't suit the film. But the way Zack Snyder does it, I believe he uses it in a smart, sparing way, and when it just matters. So I don't really believe in that critique that some of the other critics or people out there are saying. So my wife and I have been listening and seeing a bunch of reviews after we saw it. I purposely muted anything mentioning Rebel Moon on my socials because I didn't want to hear anything about it. I knew that it was coming out. That's all I knew. I needed to know. I saw the trailer. I knew the release date. I knew who the cast was. I was like, all right, cool, mute. I just want to go in fresh. I'm glad I did. And then I went and just saw what other people thought. And just the typical players online and on YouTube and the critics, quote unquote, just clickbaiting for the sake of clickbaiting and saying it's bad for the sake that it's saying it's bad. And it's just to join that circle. That's that viewership, right? Which is unfortunate. Cool. Everybody's got their opinion. I'm not saying that, right? I'm not saying that you can't not like it. Awesome. Happy for you, mate. Like, I loved it. So we've all got something to enjoy. Like, you can move on and I'll sit here waiting for the next one. And there's a director's cut of this coming out as well. That's one critique I've got of Netflix, right? They let Zack Snyder go ham on this and build a new IP, build a new universe, a new franchise, right? And but they say, okay, Zack, you're going to need to put out a 2 hour and 15-minute version of this. When that doesn't really matter. When streaming is considered, you're not considering the fact that you need people to get in and out of seats at a cinema to get more sessions per day to earn more money. Like, that's no concern. So when I heard that there's a director's cut of this, a director's version of it, I was like, oh man, okay. And it's like 4 hours or something like that. I'm like, cool, sign me up, mate. But I wish I could have just enjoyed that one first, right? I wish I had the option. Yeah, anyway. I know that there's a discussion there like, well, you can't put both out at the same time because it'll confuse the audience. All right, fine. And you want to put out a more concise version for those who don't have attention spans longer than 30 seconds. Or you want to just, I don't know, make something more palatable for the common folk, so to speak. And those of us who enjoy a long burn movie when it's good, then the director's cut will come later. And I'll always default to a director's cut of a film over the other one, the theatrical, if you want to call it that, or the mainstream version. So sign me up for that. Apparently part 2, Rebel Moon Part 2 is coming out April 19th. So this movie ends on quite the cliffhanger. My wife and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. The cast, I loved the cast. I thought they were great. I think, like, if I had to be some negatives in here, some scenes that you weren't allowed to just get to know the cast a bit, right? You didn't get to know the characters as much as you probably would have liked. So in that aspect, I'm interested to see what differentiates the director's cut. Like, how much more is there? More character stuff, right? If there's more character stuff in his longer version, then that makes it worthwhile, right? But whereas if the director's cut is just going to be more exposition or explosions or, I don't know, action or whatever, background world building, like, okay, that's great. There's a lot of background world building in the cut that we got already, but we didn't get enough time to spend with the characters, right? And my other critique is that some of the sequences felt a bit short, or like they cut too quick, or you're just jumping from one planet to the other, you know, picking up these people along the way, like this Magnificent Seven type aspect to this movie. And every one of those is like a mini like vignette of, okay, this is a bit about that character, this is a bit about that character, this is a bit about that character. But every time you do that, they're quick friends, they're fast friends, and they join the party, right? You know, like an RPG game. Where you run into someone on a field or in a bar or something like that. You're like, oh, yes, I'll join your cause, yes. Don't know you, but cool, let's do it. You know, so that's my other critique of it. I love the CG. I don't get the hate. I don't get the criticism on the CG. This is some of the best CG. Like, when you consider $300 million films or $200 million films that are out there lately, and they've got some absolute shocking CG. Flash, primarily in recent memory. Blue Beetle was another one that had great CG for such a significantly smaller budget than the Flash, and Justice League, I'll say that. And even some of the Marvel films, some of the CG and those have been pretty shocking considering the budgets. But that's all to do with time constraints on the VFX houses. I'm fully aware of that. But Zack, being a visual director and storyteller, I know that visual fidelity and quality is important to him. Right, so there's some characters in this movie that you're just like, wow, that looks amazing. Like, I couldn't believe it. That was that prosthetic or not? It just looked real, it looked legit. And I'm talking in two instances specifically. There's the Anthony Hopkins robot, who I wish we saw more of, and I can't wait. I hope they build him out more in the sequel. And there's this alien creature on this planet where you get introduced to Ray Fisher's character. And I was like, wow, that CG is excellent. Oh, Jesus, that looks legit real. So I was, and the other like spacescapes or skyscapes, what do you want to call it, of the space and the planetary stuff looked amazing. Like I'm very fascinated by the world that they built here. I just wish we had a bit more time to know more about it, right? And that goes back to my thing about the director's cut. I hope we get that, right? The audience score here, I can see and understand why, and that I think might be fair at 60%. There are improvements in the film that I would like to see. Maybe like if being 2 hours and 15 minutes, right? If this was 2 hours and a half or 2 hours and 45, that might have given a bit more pacing to breathe in some of the sequences and the transitions between character introductions, and just have a bit more time with those people and individuals. But yeah, look, I mean, that's the problem. When you hire a director who's known for his extensive versions of films, and he's done this pretty much throughout the majority of his filmography, at least half of it at least, where he's just known for doing extensive cuts, and he shoots everything that he storyboards essentially, right? And so that's always interesting if we could see all of that come to life. So we'll see how the audience score is on the longer version. If I enjoyed this one, and my wife enjoyed this one as well, and we kind of we have different tastes in some instances, but we're even sitting here watching some of these reviews, asking like, is it us? Like, are we the problem here? Like, there's so many people that have voiced their opinion on not liking or not enjoying the film, and some have just gone overboard, as you know. YouTube's full of noisy critic film reviews, or people that are just trying to get the clickbait traffic, hating for hating's sake. So you don't know who's legit or not out there anymore. That's why I like to be a bit more real about it. And I don't have an issue saying with some things I don't like about a Zack Snyder film, even though I'm a big fan of his, right? But even we're sitting here going, it can't be just us, right? And most people that I've spoken to off YouTube or off socials enjoyed it, right? So the messaging is muddled there. I don't know what the take is on that side of the fence. I really don't. Like the critics score never really matters anything to me. The only part when it does matter to me is the potential of getting a follow-up or another one of something I liked, right? And if I see tanking reviews or tanking scores or just the hate online, and that's one part of it, right? But this has been quite successful, according to Netflix. That this has been a major hit for Netflix. I did read some articles, and I wish I brought them up here to view here, but I wasn't going to talk about it, but I am now. Where like week over week, it's gotten like millions and millions more views as it goes, and well above what Netflix considers a success or a hit, right? So that's promising and very telling. Where there was not a fall off after the first week, it was a considerable uptake in the next one, in the next week, right? So, oh man, hang on a sec. My visual's kind of frozen up on me here. Yeah, there we go. All right, we're back. Apologies for that. Looks like I'll need to turn down some of the video settings next time, according to a message that this software gave me. Anyway, but the audio is still going, which is great. I'll double check that in post before I upload and to make sure it's all good. And if there's anything missing there, I'll just put up a disclaimer and have a hard cut. But anyway, long story short, I enjoyed the film. My wife enjoyed the film. I can't wait to see the second one. I'm fascinated by the world that they're building here and to know more about this franchise or this story or this IP. If they do a comic book, which I'm pretty sure I think I heard that they're doing one, I'll be interested to check that out. Zack Snyder went on stage at one of the Game Awards last year saying that they're working on a game for this franchise as well. If they do an anime, I mean, this would be ripe for an anime. Holy moly, that'd be an epic anime. Look, and I'm aware that this was rejected by Disney as Zack Snyder's pitch for a Star Wars type film. Obviously, it's not cookie cutter. Like, this isn't what from what I know, what I read, what I've heard of online, that this isn't the exact treatment, right? What he presented to Disney, and they said no. Considering what Disney is putting out for Star Wars, I think they probably should have done this anyway. They probably would have had a bit more success, or at least critical fan success. Anyway, that's a whole other topic we'll head into very shortly. Look, anyway, those are my general thoughts. I didn't want to spoil anything. Ray Fisher, I thought he was great in this. It's good to see him and Zack Snyder working together again post Justice League World. So that was great to see, just from my perspective, with everything that happened with that. But every other character and every other cast member and the character that they played, I thought they were cast quite well. I didn't see much of like anyone that stuck out as a weakness or a weak point. I think the villain started off really strong. There's a scene in the farm at the beginning of the movie, and it's quite tense. It's like, oh damn, this is awesome, right? And that whole farm sequence I really enjoyed. But I think towards the end it got a bit, let me just say, a bit Saturday cartoon, a bit with the ending fight of this movie. I enjoyed it. I just didn't quite buy the fight. This lady, let me just, I can never pronounce her name right. Let me just see if I can find her name on here so I can do it justice. Sophia Boutella, I think I'm saying that correctly. I really enjoyed her. I know she's getting a lot of criticism, but I thought she did great. I mean, they handled this really well, I think, of a strong woman character, because this is current year, right? I think they did this the right way, where she was just a badass, right? Just off as a character. It wasn't beaten down your throat. It wasn't, I'm the best because I'm a woman, anything like that. There was none of that kind of stuff shoved down your throat about it. It was just a character that's gone through some shit, gone through some hard stuff in life. That's just going on her own hero's journey, so to speak. And yeah, she beat up like 10 guys that are like 3 times her size. I get that, but you know, you could put that down to her being a skilled combatant. You know, and I'm not a fighter, so I don't know how that weighs up. You know, I know there's weight classes for a reason, but you know, I'm sure if I'm sure, like I'm a big bloke, and I'm sure if some little dude came out to me who was skilled in combat, could kick 10 or 9 colors of shit out of me before I ever knew what was going on, you know. But if I got a hand on them, you know, there'd be trouble for them. But anyway, all that aside, I think how they handled this in the current climate that we've been in for the last 5 or 10 years, I think they handled that aspect really well. Like I personally, and I'm quite, I'm quite vocal, or at least I have my opinions on, and many others do, on how cinema and female characters have been portrayed in recent times in every form of media in the past 5+ years. And it's just eye rolling at this point, and we'll talk about that in the next topic, where I don't buy any of it. I'm not interested. You just, it's just making every woman a man. It's just writing a male character and casting a man and asking us to buy it. Like, I don't buy that, right? Whereas this character, there's femininity in there, but she's a strong woman who's earned her badassery, right? And that's the thing. That's the difference, where you're not walking into this movie expecting to buy this because the script says so, right? You can see who she is in the movie and how it plays out, and she kicks ass. So if there's me, you know, a bloke like me saying, yeah, this chick kicks ass, right? Then just take that, right? It should count for something. Because if this was any other type of movie like Disney does, where they're the best, and that's, you know, you just need to buy it. They're the best because no reason, they just are. They're the expert at everything because they just happen to be, and that's the character that it is, and you need to accept it. It's like, no, I call bullshit on that. Complete bullshit on that. Anywho, Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire, I should say. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait to see the next one. Zack Snyder, you know, he's one of my favorite filmmakers out there today. Not just from a visual standpoint, but I enjoy what he does and what he puts out, and he takes the risks, right? He's one of the filmmakers today, and he's mates with Chris Nolan, mate. And Chris Nolan even says he rates him quite highly, right? Chris Nolan's half the reason why Zack Snyder got the Man of Steel gig, because he recommended him to Warner Brothers, right? Zack Snyder is a director that is putting out original content, original movies at a quality that most other directors aren't doing, and for established franchises, right? So just think about that for a second, where you've got countless Marvel movies out there and other like big franchise movies that are coming out just flopping hardcore, right? Because they're just cookie cutter stuff, right? It's cookie cutter Disney, cookie cutter Marvel, cookie cutter, like even Paramount suffering it a bit. But Zack Snyder comes out and tries to do something different, right? And this isn't turning into a Zack Snyder wankfest. I'm just trying to like paint my point here of why I enjoy his work. If you go back in his filmography, it's always different, right? He's always trying something different that isn't what the norm is, right? If you go back and watch Watchmen, that movie is ahead of its time, right? If Watchmen came out 5 years ago or today, I don't think it'd be as successful. But if it came out about 5 years later than it originally did, it would have been a massive hit, right? But it was ahead of its time, right? Sucker Punch, think of what you like of it. There's a lot in that movie if you're not aware of it, but there's a lot in that movie if you get into the layering of it. But then you get into Man of Steel, Batman and Superman, which I consider absolute masterpieces. And Zack Snyder's Justice League is a 4-hour, like, just epic movie that is unrivaled. I thoroughly love that, and it doesn't feel like 4 hours when you watch it. It just makes you it leaves you wanting in the best way possible, right? And that's what a good movie is meant to do. And it's a good movie used to be where you'd walk out of the cinema and still talking about it, right, with your friends. Not every answer is given to you on the screen, right? You're left wondering and thinking and pondering, well, what does that mean? Well, what was that? What happened here, right? And that's what's been happening in Zack's movies, right? He doesn't spoon feed you, right? Which is what a lot of movies do today, where they try and make it just so accessible that anyone can consume it. It's surface level crap, right? And there's a lot of studios are very risk adverse to doing anything different to give you meatier content, right? Something's a bit different that takes a risk. Anyway, I think Barbie and Oppenheimer have proven that audiences are ready for new shit and to not be felt like they're stupid walking into a movie anymore. Right. So, and I'm not saying this is Schindler's List or anything. Far from it. Rebel Moon is not anywhere near that. It's it knows what it is, and that's what I like it for. But it still gives you stuff that you're talking about and wondering about. Like that Anthony Hopkins robot, for argument's sake, it sets up this really interesting story and backstory for this thing, and then he goes and you're just wondering, well, hang on a minute, I want to know more about this guy, right? And you just left wondering, where if this was a Marvel movie, and I keep picking on Marvel stuff, but if it was like that, it'd be like, hey, this is that character, blah, 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 spoon feed. You know everything about the character now. Bam, done. All right. He's your favorite now, right? He's your favorite. Tell us he's your favorite now. You know, that kind of stuff. I hate that shit. Anyway, moving on. We'll go on to the next topic. This is Star Wars. Oh, Star Wars. Let's do it.